It looks like Trump is trying to speedrun the downfall of the U.S. empire, which, maybe not such a bad thing for the world. But gold prices are spiking and the stock market is panicking because Trump is undermining the entire premise of the U.S. empire and the strength of the U.S. dollar. Hold on, because this one's going to be complicated. Trump has been trying to get the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates for a while now, which is something that would help average Americans buy homes, get loans, things like that. But traditional economics tells us that that might also risk raising inflation, which is why Federal Reserve Chair J Powell hasn't budged. And after Trump has flirted with firing him before his term is over, we just got this crazy video.
On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June.
We see in that video that Trump is using lawfare and threatening Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve with lawsuits to try to persuade them to cut interest rates. This move completely undermines the strength of the US dollar because it undermines the independence of our central bank. If you are a foreign wealthy business person, or let's say a foreign monarch, and you want to park your money somewhere safe, you buy US Treasury bonds because there's this assumption that it is a perfectly safe bet, that the US is always going to pay you back with interest because we have an independent central bank. The Federal Reserve is run by people who are appointed to 14-year staggered terms, which means that one president can't hire and fire enough people to actually make a difference in the Federal Reserve's policy, which should mean that they're making decisions based on the health of the U.S. economy and the U.S. dollar and not following the political incentives of any one president. And this independence is super important for the strength of the U.S. dollar, which is built on the confidence of foreign investors. They know that they can park their money in the U.S. and buy a bunch of U.S. dollars, knowing that one president trying to win an election, let's say, can't print a bunch of money and cause a bunch of inflation because the Federal Reserve, the central bank, is independent of any of the president's wishes. I'm personally not somebody who reveres the independence of these great financial institutions that usually are only answering to the health and well-being of corporate America and not to the average American, but I certainly don't want Trump to be the one calling the shots.